All right, I'd like to call to order our regular meeting of the Ballston Spa Central School District Board of Education for October 19th, 2022. If you can all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to welcome everyone in attendance here in the room. I'd like to welcome everyone who's watching on the live stream. For those of you in the room, if we have to evacuate the room, the exits are behind me on either side, the doors that lead outside, and at the entrance of the library, the door that leads into the hallway. And we are ready for recognition.
Thank you. So this week is National School Board Recognition. Oh, sorry. Thank you. So this week is National School Board Recognition Week, and I wanted to take a few moments to thank everybody here. School board members take on one of the most important citizen responsibilities, and that is really overseeing the education of the community's youth. School board members choose to serve in a voluntary role and dedicate a lot of their time and energy, all in the name of improving our students' education. So please join me in thanking our board for their service to our students and great community. So thank you very much.
You got to mention swag.
Yeah, and we've provided a couple engraved tumblers and a coffee mug for your enjoyment.
Yes, that is wonderful. Thank you very much. And every year in the recognition, there's always something that's very nice, and generally, our students are involved in putting them together in the tech classes, and it's just great, and appreciate it very much.
Welcome.
All right, student government, Selena and Katie.
Hi, we don't have many updates today, but this Friday is a Wear Pink Day for breast cancer, as well as there's a home football game this Friday night at 7 where we will be doing a pink out for the student section for breast cancer as well.
We will be planning for food drives for Thanksgiving and holiday season drives, and we will be doing a toy drive, which is run by a local family from our school district.
We also have a meeting next Tuesday, October 25th, where we will be working out more specific things about those food drives. That's all we have today.
And I'm sorry, the toy drive and the second one?
Yes, we're doing a Thanksgiving food drive and a toy drive,
Thanksgiving food drive, wonderful.
which we plan on working out at our next meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. And as always, if you would like to excuse yourself for study purposes, please do so. We are now at the first time in our agenda for public comment. Thank you. We do have someone signed up for public comment. I will just read our guidance as I do at every meeting. The Board of Education welcomes district residents, parents, other interested persons to its meetings. Community involvement at board meetings is encouraged so that the board can better understand and represent the views of its constituents. Please be aware, however, that information such as individual student information or particular personnel issues cannot be discussed at public sessions of the board. Speakers will be called upon individually. When recognized by the board president, will be asked to approach the podium and state your name and residence. Statements are restricted to a maximum of 2 minutes. Speakers will be notified by the board president when his or her time has expired. I generally try and ask you to conclude your comments somewhere around the 3-minute mark. The board and district staff take public comment very seriously. However, the board will not respond to comments or questions during the public comment period. Board asks the public's cooperation maintaining a safe and respectful environment. The board president reserves the right to limit individual comments if it is deemed necessary. And speakers will please not make slanderous attacks on any group, organization, or individual, member of the board, an employee of the district, a member of the audience, or a member of the public. Please address all your remarks to the board as a whole and not to any particular individual. Please do not use profane, vulgar, threatening, or disparaging language or racial or ethnic slurs. And please don't disrupt the meeting with loud outbursts or other disruptive conduct or behavior, either during the speaker's assigned time or at any other time during the meeting. Speakers understand that a failure to comply with these rules for maintaining a respectful and productive environment may result in early termination of the speaker's allotted time, a denial of future requests to speak, and any other actions deemed necessary by the president of the board, or, where appropriate, regarding health and safety measures, the superintendent of schools. And so I would ask Mr. Gray to please approach the podium.
Good evening. My name is Brian Gray. I reside at 38 Birch Tree Lane, Ballston Spa, town of Milton. I have a son who's a student in the high school. He's a sophomore. And I've been speaking regularly at these meetings. I was out of town a month ago and missed that meeting, but I've been pretty regular since. Topic I want to discuss and continue to discuss is violence in the school. I do ask for replies. The president does acknowledge my concerns. He responds by email. And in spite of my public comments, it's my belief violence is continuing, and not only continuing, it's getting worse. This week, my son, and last week, my son was a victim of violence in the school. The president's advice to me was I have to bring it up with the bus coordinator, or bus garage, transportation coordinator, and I have to bring it up with the administration at the school where the violence is occurring. So I've done that. But Officer Becker, he's in the back of the room here, he's had to ride my son's school bus, not only board the bus to break up a fight, but on a different incident, he had to ride the bus to ensure that the students arrived home safely. That tells me it's getting worse. My son was a victim of violence this past week. The student who was offending, this occurred on Friday and Monday and multiple times before that. He didn't see the student yesterday, but he saw the student again today. So he doesn't know if he either did not see the student yesterday or the student was suspended. So regardless, that is possibly a one-day suspension, if that. For what occurred to my son, it's unspeakable. I brought this to the attention of the assistant principal, Mr. McAleese, I believe. He and I have had conversations. He and I will continue to have conversations. I mentioned to him that I speak at these board meetings. This needs to stop. If you suspend a student for engaging in violence, that's a reaction. The proactive approach, I'm looking for answers. I come to these board meetings and I'm looking for that response. When the school board president tells me I need to bring it up with the administration at the building where this occurs and with the transportation department, that is not the school board taking responsibility for the safety of every student. I don't know what else I can do. I'll stay in contact with the school. I'll keep coming to these meetings. But we have a society where violence is rampant. School shootings do occur. God forbid it ever happen here. But we need to take control of violence before it controls us. It's happening on streets. It's going to happen in our school, and it's going from bad to worse. I don't know what else I can do. My frustration level is getting increased. And now my son's safety is in danger. Enough. Please. You are the school board. You were elected to do a job. It's neglectful if it continues and it gets worse. Other issues I've brought to your attention. I see that there is now student use on one of the all-gender doors. The rest of the building is locked up, so I was not able to go around. My son says the partitions are not in the men's room between the urinals. If there's no violence in the school, if violence isn't occurring, vandalism is an act of violence. Why haven't they been replaced? I've asked for agenda items to be added to the agenda. I have not seen one yet where violence is going to be addressed. I have nothing more to say. I'll be back in 2 weeks. I'll say it all again. I appreciate the opportunity to be heard. I welcome all of you to comment back to me. I talk to the people who are at home watching on their YouTube channel here. Please comment. If you feel the same way, please speak. This is our forum, this is our school board, and these are our children. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Gray. Now time in our agenda for our superintendent's report.
Thank you very much. Tonight we have Kathleen Skelly and Ann Lazuski, and they will be speaking on an update on the Middle Years International Baccalaureate Program at our middle school.
I have to speak in the microphone. So good evening, everybody. We're so excited to be back with you tonight. About a year ago, we presented the Middle Years International Baccalaureate Program, what it was, kind of the nuts and bolts of it to the board, and really expressed the excitement that we had to begin to bring this to our students. And we want to give you a report tonight of what we did last year, what we're doing this year, and our steps moving forward tonight. So to get started, we want to talk a little bit about what we've done so far and a review of last year. So we launched last November. We had an all-day professional development for our full staff, in which IB facilitators came in and talked to each content area about what IB means and how it's linked to their content area, to their curriculum, and how we plan units and really make this happen with our students and in our classrooms. Knowing that, a once and done is never a good thing for anybody. We need lots of repetition to make things stick. We felt it was really important to get into our content area planning meetings and talk about the content guides and talk about the questions and dive a little bit deeper into what needed to be done to begin the implementation of the middle years program. So we took December and early January to work with our content area teachers during their planning times and go over the guide and go over next steps and talk a little bit about how it would look within social studies or science and so on. And about a couple weeks later, in later January, we actually began to have release time for our teachers. We know that anything that is done well needs time. You need time to plan, you need time to talk, you need time to ask the questions. And so we took time in February, March, and early April, working with a couple of content teams per week, beginning the implementation of creation of their first unit plan. And you're going to get a little glimpse on what a unit of study looks like tonight. Mrs. Skelly's going to take you a little bit deeper into that. And so we really took the time to work with our teachers, work with our staffs, to help them feel very comfortable and very much empowered with what IB is and what their role in it would be as we move through this 3-year cycle. We were very, very fortunate to have the opportunity to do some summer planning with our teachers, and most of our content areas actually got through planning 4 units of study, which again, Kathleen, I don't mean to steal your thunder, but we'll talk to tonight about and talk a little bit about the momentum that came from it. I think as we practice, we get more excited about the work that we're doing, and we really start to meld and gel as a team. And so, that's the big lift that we did last school year. I think I'm tossing it to you now. All right.
Tossing it to me. She did steal a little bit of my thunder, but that's okay. If you could proceed, thanks. So last year, we were in year 1, and we were taking small steps in making sure all of our community was in line with the goals and the outcomes and what the expectations were. We're in year 2, and I feel like we've gone 3 years already. Mm-hmm. We have made such momentous growth. I did 28 days this summer working with grade level teams. The majority got 6 units done, not 4, and the momentum was amazing. And we are taking those small steps, but as people are feeling confident, they are actually surging ahead of my timeline, and that's always very exciting. You'll see another date that I listed in our timeline, January 23. We will be receiving our first visit from IB, and they're going to check in on our progress, give us some feedback. And when I had a call with them at the beginning of this year, and every time I meet with them, I have to go through where we are and explain what our direction is. And I asked her twice, I said, "Are you just trying to make me feel good?" And she goes, "Of the 6 schools I oversee, I can't believe how far ahead your building is based on the COVID conditions that everybody was experiencing." And I had to text Dr. Duca right away because I was like, this is the best news coming into September. So that was such a positive. If you could click again, please. So what are our curriculum goals? I have to be honest, I love spending 4 days a week in the middle school because I'm meeting with teachers, I'm interacting with students, and we're spending time in that work that gives such deep meaning to why we're here. We are working on implementation, and as we work on implementation, we're looking at our assessments. We're looking at how to engage students in the learning, building rubrics, and then standardizing. So they'll give an assessment, we'll all come in together and look at all the assessments together and have that standardized view on learning and have these deep conversations. So the reflective, we have a phenomenal staff, but the way they've embraced these practices has been really exciting. And we're going to continue to build the capacity. I couldn't do any of this work on a curriculum level without our IDLs at the middle school. They are becoming great leaders, phenomenal leaders. They're like, well, we don't need you today. We're all set. And I'm like, that's the best news ever. Success really for us is when we make other people feel successful. So that's really meaningful work. All right. Still me. So I wanted to approach two really bedrock components that I think make IB so different from any other curricular program. The first one is the global context. And if you could forge ahead to the next slide. The global context takes classroom learning and intentionally transfers it to the real world. And I was working with science. Oh, see, I want to walk. Look at me. I got to stand still. That's the teacher in me. I was working with Science 8, and they came up with this. I happen to live on the Hudson, so I was like, this is clever. I'm glad you didn't use dredging. But they gave a scenario, and they're doing electromagnetics. And the team had to use their knowledge of what they learned about electromagnetics, and they had to build a model, a device that was going to retrieve the cargo from the ship in the Hudson. And they're building mini models, and they have a little tank of water that's to simulate the Hudson, and they're using different variables to determine how they can have the most success with the least environmental impact. The engagement of the kids is phenomenal, and the connection to the real world is just something that is clearly being embraced. And the teachers are enjoying it. They're coming up with those opportunities and scenarios. If you could go back one for me, thanks. You're wonderful. Thank you so much. Approaches to learning. That's the other piece that if I were to grab at any component that I hope our students will leave here with, it's those skills, those human skills, the ability to critically think, to communicate, to advocate, all of those elements that are going to serve them well throughout life. And with every unit we design, we ask ourselves two questions about approaches to learning. What skill do my students need in this unit to be successful and they don't currently have in their toolbox? And we find that skill and we explicitly hone it and teach it during the course of that unit. The second question we ask is, what skill are they pretty good at, but we want them to be great at it? And we target that skill as well. In Social Studies 6, they did a gallery walk with their geography final assessment. And they're sixth graders, and they're adorable, and they're energetic. But one of the things they worked on is how to give and receive positive feedback, but also critical feedback. And it was just a great, easy way for them to have that experience and make it meaningful. All right, one more. All right, back to you. And we have a video.
Okay, do you want to start with the video?
Sure.
Okay.
You want to introduce it?
Okay. So September 30th, as I spoke before, we took time last year to really bring IB to our staff and really help them to feel as they were owners in this work. But now it's time to take it to the students. And so on September 30th, we actually had our official launch day, which was probably above and beyond my happiest day since coming on board to Ballston Spa. We just had an absolute wonderful time with the kids. We had our first full assembly Folks said in a long, long time, and we had every student in our school, every teacher in our school present at the assembly to talk about IB and how it can impact them. I think we have a video, and then I will give a little more information on this.
To make the world a better place, to make our school a better place, to make our community a better place. What's one thing that you alone can do? And the second thing is, I want you to reflect on how does that action align with one of our 10 learner profile traits that we talked about today, and we'll talk about your classes in a little bit.
So there was a little bit of controlled chaos going on there with 800 plus students in the auditorium together, but I can tell you their behavior, their engagement, their responses, which I'm going to share with you in a moment, from that day were just overwhelmingly positive and, just bring you a lot of hope. In a time where folks are looking for that. We have a fantastic group of future leaders moving into our community and are in our community presently. And so, as you saw from the video, we really focused on the learner profile traits and how it connects to our village motto of a village of friends. And I began the presentation with the students on that. What does that mean? What does a village of friends mean to you? And we did some turn and talks and share outs. And we had students who were so brave to take the microphone and talk in front of the entire school, and just that risk taking. As you look at the learner profile traits, that's one of them, to have the courage to know that you can share and that your peers are going to acknowledge you. It was just, again, overwhelming to see how happy this experience made our students. And we really focused in and honed in on the learner profile traits and what it means to us as people who are part of the Ballston Spa community. And you saw me speak to the students at one point. It may have been hard to hear, but I asked them, I charged them with, after we went through the 10 learner profile traits and talked about the importance of each one and how they connect to our lives, I asked them to go back as they did the work with their teachers back in their individual classrooms later in the day. I want you to think of one thing that you can do to make our community, make our school, make your home a better place today. One quick thing that you can do, and then tell me how it aligns to one of these learner profile traits. And as I looked through them, so they had to fill out a Google form. It was their assignment from me that I wanted to check in and as their principal. And as I looked through their responses, probably a good 95% of them chose caring. And that just stood out to me. It just absolutely stood out to me that was the learner profile trait that they wanted to do, that they wanted to highlight of themselves, was caring. And I wanted to share a couple of responses with you that just kind of blow me away. One was, my grandpa is going through a hard time right now, so I could get him his favorite food and some flowers to make his day. Another student said, one thing I could do today that could positively impact somebody today is that I could help people if they're confused in class. Another student said, I could say to someone, have a good day, or compliment them. Another one said, I could help a student, I could talk to my sibling and figure out what makes us argue so much. I love that one. Today I could ask somebody if they just need help. And these are just some examples of our students and the capacity and the love and the care that we have in our schools today. And so I wanted to bring that. That's what the learner profile traits bring to the students. Currently, we're really focused on principle, which is one of the 10 learner profile traits that really focuses on honesty and integrity and the importance of that as we grow up and grow as community members. We'll move on to caring in December, and we'll have not as large scale of a day, but we will have a similar day where we talk to the students about the importance of bringing those traits into their lives, into what we do here as a community in the school, and how what they do impacts each other. The next thing I did want to talk to you a little bit about it's beginning to be off and running. Mrs. Brandt, our community project coordinator, actually met with our 3 8th grade community project pilot teachers today, and we're beginning to roll out that community project pilot. We have about 30 8th graders who are assigned to this, and parents have signed on and said, yep, I want my student in there. We're doing a pilot because, frankly, I have never had 300 plus students do the community project before, and it feels we wanted to go slow to go fast. We wanted to make sure that what we put in place is going to be super effective. And so we wanted to take that time. As I said before, time is important when you're implementing something to do well. So that began, she's working very closely with our teachers, she's working very closely with our students, and to remind you about what the community project is, it really enables students to take a look around, whether it's in the schoolhouse, whether it's in the community, whether it's in the greater international community, whatever that is that they feel connected and passionate about, they get to see what a problem is that they see or a service that they could provide, and they begin a project plan around it and taking action and then reporting out to us, or maybe informing us about perhaps a service if you're having trouble and you're needing a little extra mental health services. We have this in this community. These are the things that you could tap into. So informing us about a service that's out there for us, or if they see a need for a family in need, maybe a child. I know in my child's hockey program, there was a young boy who had cancer, and they rallied around him. If they see something like that going on, again, the community project is an opportunity for students to really see those things that are closest to them, create an action plan, and follow it through. And then at the end of the year, with the pilot program and as we grow this, the kids are actually going to have opportunity to present these projects to us and then have a huge showcase and a celebration for the work that they do. So, be on the lookout for an invite to come to our showcase in the spring for our 30 pilot students.
What are our next steps? I have to jump in on 2 of my favorite parts on lunch day, because having been out of the classroom and then having the opportunity to spend the day with them, 2 great things happened. All their peers are in there, and they asked the 30 kids who are in the pilot project for the community project if they would stand up, and they bounced up, and they're like, it's us,
They're
it's
celebrities.
us. And we were like, wow, like not many middle schoolers in a huge auditorium with 900 other, and they were just so proud, and kids clapped for them. It was really lovely. Yep. And then I got an opportunity to work in a classroom that day, and we asked all of the students as they were leaving to go home for their half day, which they were very excited about, I will be honest, but we asked them each to tell us one thing that they enjoyed about the day. And this one little guy said, it was just so nice to be with people and to interact. And I've never attended, because of COVID, he goes, I've never been in the auditorium and had so much fun. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, it was so much fun. So what are we gonna keep doing? Riding this wave of amazing energy. We're gonna keep working on our units. We're gonna add additional IB character days as we go through. We're excited about kind of the kids dictated caring. When we looked at the survey, we want them to own the learning and own the environment. And we have the pilot project. Ann and I and the whole team will be getting ready for the liaison visit in January. There are a lot of components to that. We'll be reaching out to some of you as well. They meet with every stakeholder group in our community, the Board of Ed, admin, every teacher group. They're here for 2 days, and they walk through every classroom. You may remember School to Watch. Is anybody familiar with School to Watch? It was a program where state ed would come in and they would send a committee. A lot of real, grassroots kind of getting to know the school. So that will be the flavor of that work. Thank you. Jason, you can come with us all the time.
Any
And-
questions?
Questions from the board members?
When you're talking about the units and redesigning, what does that look like while still following the standards from the state?
Absolutely. So that's my area of expertise. So we first and foremost prioritize local requirements, so they take precedent. So for example, in our Project Lead the Way work, in our world language, in our science, all of our local standards take precedence. The IB unit design is inquiry, action, reflection. So it's the design of how you put the unit together, but it's still, and they even say to us, you prioritize your local requirements. So in our world languages, we've embedded the levels of proficiency within there. In the Project Lead the Way, all of the Rochester Institute of Technology components are in there. So it's a really easy marriage of what's important locally and the IB tenets.
Thank you.
You bet.
That's a great question.
That is a great question.
Other questions? Mr. Ryan?
Yes. At a high level, is the IB middle years geared towards getting more students participation in the high school level IB programs?
So, in theory, we can both answer this question. Middle years IB is a whole school approach, and it does build a certain energy and element of achievement and rigor and growth in students that would definitely encourage others to aspire to looking at the IB program at the high school level. We do have the 9th and 10th grade. I'll let Ann speak to.
So middle years program is actually designed to be a 6th through 10th grade model. So we're controlling the 6th through 8, you know, and I have found in my former position that our students in my former middle years program, they would end up going to, you know, schools that did offer an IB component at the high school level. Did all of them? No, they did not. Some of them, you know, chose not to go into the diploma track, but many of them did. So it just opens doors and helps kids to think about the what ifs and why nots.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions, comments? So I have a question. In there was an acronym ITL, which I think is Instructional Teacher Leader.
Yeah.
So for the instructional teacher leaders, how many of them are there, excuse me, and do they have different areas of focus?
You want
Rock, paper, scissors?
Rock, paper, scissors. You described how many there are, and I'll tell them exactly what they do with the work that I.
So we have 6 instructional teacher leaders. They focus on the content area, so you are right in the question that each focus on a different content area: social studies, science, English, math, world language, and we actually have a tech IDL as well. And so those folks do focus on that. They work closely with their content area. They lead the content meetings along with the grade level leader teachers. The model that we have right now as we work through and implement the units of study is they'll invite Mrs. Skellion because she's brilliant with curriculum and instruction and gives great feedback. And she helps not only give feedback and ask questions that help lead us to strengthen our units, but at the same time, we are building the capacity of the leadership of our IDLs, and really that's what's most important is really providing opportunity for growth of all of our teachers, so this becomes something that's enculturated in the school and not like one person leading it and then it goes away if they go away. We don't want it to be something that's in a silo. We want it something that's permeated throughout the school.
I think I indicated earlier, my measure of success is they need me less because they're growing in their confidence of the elements that we've discovered and worked through together, and they feel independent in their capacity in leading their departments. Sure.
At the elementary level, I know we have a big focus on literacy.
Yes.
How is there like a transition between what we focus on at the elementary level to then how does it dovetail with the IB program?
Question. May I take that one?
Of course.
Excellent. Part of the impetus for, looking at a program at the middle years that would have that receptivity for a different kind of student coming in from the elementary experience is the richness and the rigor of an IB unit and the design elements. Reading, critical thinking, all of those tenets are embedded in there and accounted for as you design the units. So there's the what, which is the unit plan, and then there's the how, which is the instructional delivery. Both of those areas are areas that we are growing in and working to achieve greater engagement with our students. In doing so, you flip the switch. Who's doing the work? And very much so, the teacher is explicitly teaching, but the students are doing the work. So they're reading the text. They're looking for the information versus receiving the text being read aloud or something along those lines. And the level of performance in the IB rubrics speaks to independence for the learner. So as they grow in their capacity, that's the aspirational measure for achievement, is to be independent and a thinker, communicator, reader, writer, speaker.
Okay.
Yeah.
Will there be like a beginning of year, middle year, end of year for the IB program as you do for the elementary?
So we're gonna see the IB, I will, absolutely. And
Okay.
of course, I love data.
Yeah.
So I'm always looking for the impact of change and how it's reflected in our student performance. So instead of, just so we have that clarity, K-5 has vendor-generated curriculum, which means we did the vetting and we worked with teacher groups and we selected curriculum that were the best for the needs of our students. In the IB, teachers are developing their own units within a framework of conditions and expectations. So it's not a vendor-created curriculum, it is a teacher-designed curriculum with all of those parameters met. So they're the architects within the building materials that they're given, so to speak of the IB. With that, there is a very rigorous assessment building and rubric component so that it's standardized, so that it's not amorphous. That's the deep work we're doing this year. So as I work with teams, we're looking at their assessments. We're making sure that they're up to the rigor of the standard so that can a child get an 8? Like on this assessment, 8 is the highest score with their rubric. And if not, what do we need to change in that assessment to give that aspirational opportunity? So there's a lot of work going on that. And I expect to see the bump in our middle of the year, end of the year work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Look forward to the data.
Yeah, you know me, I'll be here. I already asked him, lined me up. Any other questions?
Any other questions or comments from the board members? So thank you very much. We very much appreciated hearing the update on the good work. And I just want to speak briefly to, we promote and talk a lot about long-range planning for the district and sort of a continuity of the students' experience as they go through the district. Former Superintendent Slentz laid a very nice foundation in terms of the work at the elementary level, in terms of having a uniform, standardized experience for our students. I think what you're seeing here now is at the middle school level, we're going to expose our students and foster and promote this outward-looking, more global sort of mindset beyond just the curriculum. And then in the high school, the students have the opportunity to actually follow those paths and take the seed that's been planted at the middle school and truly find what is the best path for them. So again, thank you very much for sharing the middle component of this. But I also want to just again share that, it's part of the larger student experience that we're working towards. And we're really now with the lessening of the COVID restrictions, the removal of many of the COVID restrictions, we're able to really start to see the growth in all of these areas. And so thank you very much. Thank you. Appreciate it. And springboarding right off that with our concerns about health and safety and the realization that COVID is not gone, I'd ask Dr. Duca to please kind of give us a summary of our COVID experience year to date.
Yeah, absolutely. So we did see a bit of an increase mid to late September, but the good news is it leveled off and we've seen a downtrend for the last few weeks, which is good. So we'll continue to monitor situation and of course follow, state and county guidance as we move forward. But we are definitely trending in the right direction as far as positives go.
Thank you. And anything else for the superintendent's report?
No.
All right. Committee reports. We did have a policy committee meeting. The chair, Ms. Whittemore?
Yes, the policy committee met tonight at 6 p.m. in room 200. We talked about our quarterly meetings being October, January, March, and May, and our revision plan for the rest of the school year. In our updates and recommendations, we talked about policy 7310, the code of conduct, and incorporating the Crown Act language. So this is state mandated, and we will be incorporating that. And at our next policy, we will be talking about, or we will see it actually formatted into the code of conduct, and will be for our 28-day read on the January 18th meeting. 2023. And just a little background, the Crown Act is protecting different races, hairstyle, heritage of how people wear their hair. It's very, very interesting to read about this. I highly recommend. In our folder, there's a little 2-page synopsis of it, and I highly recommend you read it. They do teacher training for it, and just keeping everyone up to speed on what's appropriate and what's not. They actually even, in the document, list books that are good for elementary, middle school, and high school to what's appropriate and what's not appropriate to when you talk about someone's hair. Very, very interesting. And then policy 5000, the district recognition, memorial, and dedications. That draft is now in final draft form, and we will be putting that on the agenda for the November 2nd meeting for its 28-day read policy. It is a lengthy policy, so please make sure you do take a good look at that policy. And then lastly, there is state mandated revision to policy 1510, our regular meetings, board meetings and rules. And the changes are about the procedures of board members attending virtually. So now that those are not, virtual meetings are not optional due to COVID anymore, it talks about what the procedure is for board members attending virtually if needed. And that will also be on our agenda for November 2nd for our 28-day read. And our next meeting is January 18th. Questions? Yes.
Katie, for the Crown Act, is it going to incorporate sports? Because I recall seeing that in the news in the last 6 months about
Right.
Sports and hair, and is it a concern for a given sport? Just wanted to make sure that we're considering that as part of
It does go into, I'm just trying to remember off the top of my head. I
Yeah, and you don't have to
apologize.
answer me right now. I just wanted
Nope,
to
I have it right
just
here.
plant that seed. So,
Yep, it talks about the, just the school environment in general, okay? So yes, that would include, anything that involves the school, clubs, sports, Am I speaking on that correctly, Dr. Duca? Yes, okay. So
Okay.
it would include anything involving the school environment.
All right, thank you.
That's all I have.
Any other questions, comments? So I just want to share that for the 2 policies that will be up for the first read at the next board meeting, I encourage the board members to look in the policy folder and see the updated versions. And I please ask that you work with Dr. Duca and the administration to make sure that they are posted on the district website.
Okay.
And we highlight the changes, and the existing versions, if there is an existing version of the policy, will be in the policy section under the Board of Education, so that people could do a comparison to actually see what the changes are. But let's please have that posted, available for people's review before that meeting. And board members, I encourage you to do your own review so that you can bring questions to the meeting on 11/2. Okay? Super. And there were no other committee reports or information, right? For correspondence to the school district?
I received 2 emails. One email asking about information on an out-of-district enrollment at Spa Academy, and another email regarding transportation and bus run options.
And correspondence to the board received 1 email regarding a student discipline matter. Announcements. Mr. Williams.
Thank you. At the last meeting, I mentioned the All-County Band Festival was starting tomorrow, and it actually is, they start the practices tomorrow, and then they go all day Saturday as well. So we are hosting it for schools from all over the county. 17 different schools are participating. We'll be hosting 240 students here in the building tomorrow afternoon and evening, and then all day Saturday. They do have a culminating concert on Saturday at 2 o'clock if you want to come and see the efforts that they put forth with there's 3 different band groups that they put together, and they'll be performing on Saturday afternoon. Next Wednesday night, our Ballston Spa Community Band will offer their annual Halloween concert. It's held in the Wood Road Cafetorium. They have a regular participation of people from the community, students, staff members, and alumni are all part of it. But as part of this concert for Halloween, they're incorporating 25 young student musicians as well. So it'll be and they all do it in costume. So it's a fun evening with a lot of different, they call it festive music or holiday music surrounding Halloween. But again, that's at 7 o'clock next Wednesday night in the Wood Road Cafetorium. The following day, on Thursday the 27th, the Ballston Spa National Bank is holding one of the food pantries that they've been doing throughout the last couple of years. That'll be at the corporate office out on Route 67 at 9 in the morning, and that's a benefit to all our families who can just basically drive in. They pop their hood or their trunk, and they throw a bunch of food in there, and they can drive away. So it's quick, it's easy. They go as long as there's food available. So we do tell people to get there at 9 o'clock. That evening on the 27th at 7 o'clock, the middle school will be holding their National Junior Honor Society induction ceremony. So that'll be held again here in the auditorium, 7 o'clock next Thursday night. So if you want to come see that ceremony, you're welcome to do so. And then I believe I mentioned last time as well that the Scotty's Closet is coming up again on November 5th. They're collecting materials now if anyone wants to donate for it. The biggest need they have right now is for volunteers to help with all of the collections, getting everything ready for the 5th, and then being here on the 4th to move everything into the cafeteria on the 5th. This year they're starting something new. They're going to hold a community resource fair as part of that. So they are inviting some of the area providers that work with our families to all be here, and they'll be in the hallway outside the cafeteria. So they'll have a community resource fair as actually starting at 8:30. The Scotty's Closet opens at 9 o'clock. So again, that's on November 5th. So there's a little bit of time for that, but they are looking for volunteers. And your next regular meeting is November 2nd, as you just mentioned.
For the Scotty's Closet, is there information on the district website as to what types of items they're looking for?
Yep, there's a flyer that's connected to the news article on the front or in the community flyers section.
Wonderful. Any other announcements?
For this, I can do this now for action.
Share.
All right, this year the Ballston Spa Education Foundation is hosting an online fundraising auction, and we're asking friends of the organization to donate items such as gift cards, products, or experiences to be raffled off. The auction will run from November 29th through December 4th, and 100% of all the proceeds will fund the impactful enrichment programs that the teachers run in the district.
And that was 11/29 through
December 4th.
12/4 will be the actual auction.
Yes.
They're looking for donations of items prior to that.
Yes.
Okay. Any other announcements?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes, I attended the BACC monthly board meeting. They welcomed me in. It was good to meet them, introduce myself as a liaison for the board. Did want to communicate a couple of events happening. They're starting up teen nights on Mondays from 6 to 8. You check out their website and their Facebook for details. It's open gym. Age is, I think, 14 to 18 years old. It's free, and sometimes they'll have different specific events. I think last Monday was a tie-dye, bring in a shirt, and they'll tie-dye it. And they're also looking at doing other things, like maybe offering a babysitting course. Once again, all no cost. They're also talked about expanding pre-K services, and I know they're working, the director's working with the district with that. I'm not going to go into the details because there was a lot going on with that, but that was good to hear that they're expanding that help to the community. And then similar to Scotty's Closet, they're accepting costumes for donation through Wednesday the 26th, as well as then having an event. They already had it one, but where people can come shopping for a free costume that's available. So similar type of thing where if you're not using something, donate it, and then it'll go to someone in need. And then culminating in using the costume, on Friday the 28th, they're having a Halloween Monster Mash costume bash. Hard to say that all, tongue twister. That's going to be ages 5 to 13. There'll be a costume contest, arts and crafts, games, and it's free with parent supervision, or $10 if you want to drop off. Once again, that's Friday the 28th from 6:30 to 8:30. And once again, Facebook has got all the details, as always. Thank you.
Wonderful. It's always great hearing what's happening at our community center.
I also have one announcement.
Yes, please.
BARC is looking for individuals in the Ballston Spa area to join their board. They meet the second Wednesday of every month at 7:15 p.m. Either, they give you two options, either via Zoom or the BARC office. If you have familiarity with BARC programs, that's preferred, but that includes all of their recreation offerings, sports, and enrichment. And they have openings for a village representative and members at large. So you can email ballstonarearec@gmail.com if you are interested.
Great. Any other announcements from the board members? Okay, not hearing any. Old business. So I wanted to revisit the superintendent survey that we're going to be putting out, querying our stakeholders, giving our various stakeholder groups the opportunity to share their thoughts and their preferences in terms of what they think are desirable characteristics and/or directions that the board should consider as we move forward with our superintendent search. So the Wish We BOCES did put together a Ballston Spa branded survey with the suggestions that we had provided over the course of the last week and a half. And so I sent you a link so you can see the actual survey as it appears on a web browser or on your phone. And I provided a hard copy or a PDF that is just the content of the survey as well. So please, everyone, take a look at that. They pretty much just have to press a button to have the survey go live. We'll partner with the district in terms of communications that will go out. And then the standard is a 2-week period for responses, and we'll send out a reminder to everyone with the information after 1 week has gone by. And once the 2-week period is gone by, Wish-We-BOCES says that they can turn around the responses to us in just a few business days. So given that timeline, if we start next week, go 2 weeks, give a few days for responses, it should be somewhere November 10th-ish or so, mid-November-ish, where we'll have the information. If we think that we need further classification and grouping of the information, especially all the free-form text responses, we will work with seeing what kind of resources we can get to help us with that. But we are very interested in the results from our stakeholder groups. The survey has the ability for people to identify themselves as, family of students, community members, former students, staff, instructional staff, support staff, administrative staff, et cetera, and we're pretty much set to go. So my ask for the board members is to please review the information and get any, and we had a few typos caught already, give feedback to me preferably by Sunday so I can put that together and we can try and get this off and running by mid next week. So it's very exciting. We're looking forward to hearing from our community. I don't think we have old business from the district? Okay. On to new business. Can I have a motion to approve resolution number 271, the budget calendar? Any discussion? So usually Brian will give a little presentation on the budget calendar. I think it's relatively self-explanatory. You've had a copy of it in your folders. It just basically outlines the steps the district takes in terms of its budget development. And any questions that anyone has, please, they're best served as being sent to through Dr. Duca to Brian. Any other questions or comments? Not hearing any. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Resolution number 271 passes. I have a motion to approve resolution number 272, scholarship dissolved.
So moved.
Any questions or comment?
Jason, just to add in, just want to thank the Zimmer family for supporting this over the years. I'm not sure when it started, and just want to thank them for that.
Yes, absolutely. I concur. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Resolution number 272 passes. I have a motion to approve resolution number 273, field trip, 8th grade.
So moved.
Any discussion? I just want to comment how wonderful it is that they're able to contemplate and do the trip to Boston. It has been a huge hit with students and staff and the parent chaperones that get to go on it in the past, and here it is. That's wonderful. Other comments?
Well, a question I know, the Washington DC trip was always look forward to, and I know they changed it to Boston. Any reason why they changed the venues, or?
A lot of Red Sox fans.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I can comment to that.
I don't have enough information.
Okay, so I was just curious, because I know it was always almost like a very look forward to event, and obviously Boston will be too. I looked at the agenda, and it looks like they're do some fun things as well there. So, thanks.
Any other discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Resolution number 273 passes. I have a motion to approve resolution number 274, placement of students with disabilities.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Resolution number 274 passes. I have a motion to approve resolution number 275, placement of preschool students with disabilities.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Resolution number 275 passes. Resolutions number 276 and through 288 are recognized as consent agenda for the purpose of Board of Education action. I have a motion to approve resolutions number 276 through 288, the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? I just want to check, do we have any appointments? Anyone in the audience that we want to recognize? No, we do not. Okay, thank you. And all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The consent agenda, resolutions number 276 through 288 passes. Do you have any other new business? Okay, do we have anyone from our associations here to provide information? No. PTA update.
Yeah, so PTAs are hosting meetings. Malta Avenue had their meeting last night. I know a lot of the discussions centered around safety around the school, and I do believe Mayor Rossi actually spoke with the group with regards to the village cooperation with any projects that may be going on. Milton Terrace had their meeting last week. I had the privilege to attend that meeting. It was great to hear all the plans for events and fundraisers that they're having, including their Harvest Festival this Saturday. PTAs are a great way to get involved and help your child's school, so I emphasize, volunteer, join your PTAs.
Thank you. It is now time in our agenda for the second public comment period. Thank you. We do have sign up for public comment. I do not need to reiterate the guidance as we all were here for the first read. So, Mr. Gray, please approach the podium.
Good evening, Brian Gray, district resident. I live at 38 Birch Tree Lane, in the town of Milton. I would like to speak again. Ms. Whitmore, you spoke about the Crown Act. I am very sorry. There are so many big issues. I'm not pointing you out for mentioning it, but the board to form a committee to talk about something. I don't try to be politically correct. There's no room in my life to be politically correct. There's right and wrong. There's violence going on in our school. There's bigger issues going on in our school. And you form a committee to talk about the Crown Act. I didn't know what it was. I Googled it. It's something that originated in the state of California, the most progressive, agenda-driven state in the nation. When you start pushing agendas, you stop focusing on things that are just simply common sense. So maybe you don't appreciate me speaking, but if the school is forming committees to talk about the Crown Act.
It's not formed a committee, it's the policy committee. There is no committee formed for the Crown Act. I apologize.
Well, there are some elements of fact which we will correct, but please continue.
I just think that this board, and that's evidence, that the board is misguided. If they're taking on issues that affect, students are going to be affected apparently by that, and I'm not unsympathetic to that. But when it comes to the issue of violence that affects every student. If my son is on a bus and a resource officer needs to board that bus so the bus driver can look forward and not in the rearview mirror to make sure that everyone arrives to their destination safely, that affects every student on that bus. How many students on a bus? 25, 30? That's a risk to every student, regardless of hair texture and things that are insensitive if you say things that are not politically correct. I would like to see an agenda item, a committee formed, if that's what it takes, to be proactive, to address violence in our school. We built our home 16 years ago. We had an option to build a home in any community we wanted. We chose Ballston Spa. I did not grow up in Ballston Spa. My wife did not grow up in Ballston Spa. We grew up locally. But Ballston Spa had an excellent school, great community, and a great school. And now I look at it. My son wasn't even born when we moved in. And it is a much different place than what we envisioned 16 years ago. Thank you once again for your time, but I felt I had to speak on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gray. So again, to just clarify and make sure that we are all understanding, we have a policy committee. The policy committee meets when modifications or new policies are being considered. In some cases, changes to policy or new policies arise from federal or state legislation. In this particular case, the Crown Act, this is new New York State legislation. We are updating an existing policy to reflect the change in New York State legislation. There's no one else signed up for public comment. So the board does have reason to go into executive session. We will not be returning to public session from the executive session. We are going into executive session, and I need a motion to adjourn to executive session to discuss the employment of a particular person. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Board will adjourn into executive session where we will not be returning to public session. And thank you all in person and thank you all watching on the live stream. We are adjourned.